Pretty good.
Great.
Perfect. Well, again, guys, send out any last minute text to the team. Let them know we are about to start mindset stuff. Mindset stuff. All right. Let me mute everyone in case we have any naughty unmuters. Okay. We'll be getting started here in just 1 minute. And there's the rest of the party people walking into the house.
Party people.
See, I would have been a minute late if I would have rode with y'all.
I'm never too early.
You want to come sit next to me? You want to come
I'm
snuggle?
never too late. It's always on time.
Yeah. So guys, the beautiful part about what we do is that, when we talk about creating an environment, it's about creating that place that people can grow. And that's what part of tonight is about, is always to help people grow from a different perspective. You know that we've talked about a lot of stuff lately, from different personality styles, talking about auditories, kinesthetics, visuals. We've talked about reds, blues, yellows, greens, and all that other kind of stuff. And the reason why we do that, it's because we want to help you guys become the best versions of yourself. And it's interesting that that didn't look like it had water. It's interesting that, on one side, and I'm saying it's interesting because we'll contradict ourselves in a sense, or at least I will contradict myself, because I'll say, you know what, you don't need to learn anything. All you need to be able to do is go out there and share a cup of coffee, which is true. You can go out there and learn how to just share a cup of coffee and just ask people, hey, have you heard about the happy coffee everyone's been talking about? And you can go out there and start to grow a business and build a customer base. But if you want to really, run a business that grows and just gets, huge to where you have thousands of people on your team and all that, you have to sharpen the axe in terms of how to communicate with others. Because it's funny that you can grow a business, and you can grow a very large business through going out there and building relationships and sharing some coffee and all that stuff. But you could also, if you don't learn on how to really communicate with people, you can also lose business because of that. So it's really a matter of just learning how to. That's why we've been teaching about personality styles. That's why we've been teaching these different communication skills, because the best thing that you can do for your business and for your life is to learn how to communicate with others. And guys, what you will learn here, as you learn how to communicate better with people, it will help you in every aspect of your life, whether it be with relationships, whether it be, on your job, if you have another business of some sort. It's so interesting when I talk to people and they say that I don't want to do sales, or I'm not good at sales, or, I'm a contractor, I don't want to do sales. And there's a reality. I don't care what you are in life. If you want to be massively successful, you have to learn sales. Or you can call it promotions. For instance, the number one paid person in boxing, is Don King. It wasn't Michael Tyson, or Mayweather, or any of these other people. Don King was the number one person paid in boxing. So if you want to basically, and it's funny, we were talking about this earlier, because there's who's that guy we were talking about, the fighter that was staying up to like Dana? Logan Paul or something like that. This guy that is like, I think he's like an online social media. He's a YouTuber that went into like boxing and MMA, and he's challenging out some people, and they just had some big pay-per-view deal, and the guy made like $11 million in one night. And he did it through the art of promoting, right? In promoting basically what was going to happen. Now he won, but whether he won or he lost, in fact, the guy that fought him made more money in the one night than what he made in his whole time, and I guess the UFC or something like that. So this guy, he challenges Dana White and started talking about how, you know, Dana White's making all the money and how the actual fighters aren't. My point with that is it's the art of promotion. It's the art of communication. It's the art of basically building a buzz around certain things. And the thing that you can get better at, yes, you don't have to learn anything to be able to ask someone, hey, have you heard about the Happy Coffee? But if you want to build a large business and not run people off, because we can tend to run people off. Guys, I've been doing this now for 20 years. And I've had different, you know, things in over the years where I've been in situations where I felt a certain way or made other people feel a certain way. And it's crazy how people will literally, because I've even felt it, where when they didn't get along with their support team, upline, whatever you want to call it. You know, I remember saying silly things like, I don't want to make that person money, you know? So it's like I was going to sabotage my own business to not make money for someone because they made me feel a certain way, which I didn't agree with, you know? And the bottom line is that what I love about this, as I started to learn and was educated by some of my mentors, is it's not about basically you making them money, because what I love about this is you always make the most amount of money for what you do. And yes, there is a little tiny portion that goes, you know, that goes to basically your support team. But the bottom line is when you go to work, you're the one that makes the majority of all the money. In fact, significantly more than anyone else. So to ever feel like I don't want to be on someone's team, or they made you feel a certain way or whatever, and basically get mad at them and not work your business. That's funny. So I had to tell you all this because it's pretty funny. So I do a poll. Yeah, squirrel. Well, my daughter's sending messages in the text thread now. So I was joking around. I found out that my wife, my daughter, my son are in a text thread together. And I acted all offended and stuff. Like, what do you mean y'all have a family text thread and I'm not a part of it? So I even did a poll that my daughter called cringy tonight at dinner, asking, have you found out about your family text thread, to find out that you're not in the family text thread. And now we're on a call, and now the text thread that I'm now in is blowing up, and it's funny. I found that to be funny. I'm the only one laughing. Well, actually, the McLeans are sitting here laughing. So with that being said, guys, you can go out there and create. The better you learn at how to lead people and how to communicate with people is going to determine how big your check can get, as well as sustain. And I remember as I was learning in the industry, I was taught it takes one skill to hit a position, it takes another skill to keep it, and then it takes another skill to get to the next level. And what we're talking about is in leadership. We're not talking about it. It doesn't take a ton of skill to ask people if they've heard about the Happy Coffee and to share a story. And to follow a very simple system, it's very easy. But to learn how to go out there and develop a huge organization absolutely takes some skill. So, and guys, the other thing you have to realize is that you have to always be willing to be a student of the game. And anytime that you think that you know everything, you have to realize that if you knew everything, you don't know anything, because if you knew anything, you would know that you don't know everything. That's just the reality. Anytime someone is at a place where they feel like they can't learn, I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, or this or that, or whatever, it doesn't matter what your background is. As soon as you quit learning, you've lost it. And what I mean by that is that if you think that you know everything, that you're not open to learn, basically, I mean, I can't say any nicer words, but you're an idiot. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's not very bright. So I'm always a student of the game. I'm always a student of whatever. And, you know, like even my wife, she read a great article. She sent it to me and it was talking about leadership. I was actually reading it, not only reading it, but discussing it and reading it out loud with the McLeans earlier. We were talking about it and just kind of discussing, you know, what it meant as we were reading it and just talking about our feelings on it and all that. I'm going to share a little bit of it with you guys if I can find it now. And it's by Jill. So guys, this is by Tony Robbins. And I think last week I might have shared a little something from Tony Robbins, but there's a lot of good stuff that you can learn from Tony Robbins. Let me close this out because, all right. So basically a couple of things that it said is what you will learn from this article is what sets apart a great leader apart from a mediocre one. 10 qualities that all great leaders share. How to incorporate these qualities into your own leadership style, how to embody authenticity and gain the credibility you need to lead by example, and how to break through the story of impossibility and create a real lasting change in others, and then how to use 3 types of appeals when influencing others every day. And guys, I'm not going to read the whole story or whatever, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. Because I mean, it's really good stuff. But, you know, one of the things that leaders do is they inspire other people, right? And if you look at the word inspire, what I like to, you know, when sometimes it's funny, like, have any of you all ever done like a call or something and you're just like, oh my God, I totally screwed that up. And then people are like messaging you going, oh my God, that was the most amazing, you know, thing I've ever heard, or that's what I need to hear tonight, or any of that kind of stuff. And what that is that many times, and it's happened to me quite often, where I start to feel like, oh, because I planned on saying one thing, but then I felt I was supposed to say something else. But because I was in my head thinking about what I thought I was supposed to talk about, then I start to doubt and start to question on if what I shared really brought value or not. And the craziest part is that the more I doubt myself, normally the better I do. It's because I'm now no longer in my head and I'm in spirit, which means I'm following my intuition and I'm going off of what I feel versus what I'm thinking. And guys, you know, my pastor would talk about it as being in flow. And when you're just basically communicating from a place that it's almost like it's not, I'm not going to say that it's not you, but it's like the words just flow out and you don't even know where, or I don't even know where exactly like that came from. Like there's many times when we'll do a call like this and my wife's like, what are you going to talk about? And I'm like, I have no freaking idea. And then basically as we're talking, or somebody will even make a comment in the thread, or just watching the body language from someone where just something comes and then it just flows and it doesn't feel like it's not scripted. It's totally real and in spirit. So when we talk about inspiring, it makes me think of that, because what is inspiring? I believe that it's when you're in touch with who you are from a spiritual side. And all right, that's great. Thanks for the squirrel, Lord. So when you're in spirit, right? So you want to connect with who, oh my gosh, that was a pattern interrupt. You want to connect with basically just, I'm going to have to change the view on the cameras here. You have to connect with basically your intuition. You know, it's funny, like when people will say things like, well, I got to pray about it, or I want to, guys, haven't you been praying about, you know, God to give you direction in your life anyway? So what I'm talking about is being able to recognize when basically you're being spoken to or when things are coming to you. Does that make sense to anybody? So let me go back into the article as the squirrels are jumping out at me. Okay, so basically to inspire. So how do leaders do that? What sets a good leader apart from a mediocre one? An extraordinary person, an extraordinary leader is a person who has learned how to influence others, including their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. People like Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Oprah, are just a few examples. So as we talk about that, and as we talk about who we are as a company, and as we talk about who we are as a community, and as we share about what our messaging is as a community and what we believe, and we were talking about this earlier about, see, people will buy in to a bigger picture far more than they will just talking about money or anything like that. If you notice, they talked about Gandhi. They talked about Martin Luther King. What these people did is they created a movement or a cause. And when people can buy into a cause, a movement bigger than themselves, they will do far more for the greater good to help create that cause than they will when it's just for themselves. And when we start to get into personalities and start to connect with people from their personality style, there are some people that will do more to basically help people in the team out than they will to help themselves out. There's some people in the team that if they know that the team is running for a goal, they'll do more because they might not even believe in themselves enough to believe that they could do it for themselves. But if they're like, well, I could just do a little bit and I can help the team hit a goal, they'll do more to help the team than they will themselves. And what that boils down to is, one, a self-belief that they're like, well, I can't do it. But see, if you realize that it's not about you just doing everything for yourself, but getting a large group of people to do a few simple things. See, if you can inspire other people to do just a little bit more, see, that's what makes a great leader. If you can help people to believe that they can do more than what they would have believed on their own, guys, that's what it's about. So, but believing in people and pouring into people is far greater than basically you just being a superstar on your own. So I'm going to go a little bit over basically quality number one of that you need to have if you want to influence other is an extraordinary hunger and drive. Hunger and drive set a leader apart from a follower. Leaders have an insatiable hunger to make something happen. They must create and share. This drive is a force that makes them unstoppable. Though their drive, discover how to influence people and create a culture around them. So guys, if you, one, are hungry and you know, you've heard the saying, like, you can't basically, if nobody wants to follow someone that doesn't know where they're going. But at the same time, if you create a culture around something to where people feel like they're going towards that place together, that what they're doing is great, what they're doing is big. For instance, the cause of creating thousandaires. The cause of creating more thousandaires than any company in the history of this industry. Guys, do you know what would happen for your income, for your life, for your family, if you impacted some people in their lives to help them go out there and become a thousandaire with our company? Do you know what happens when you help multiple people go out there and make an extra $1,000 for themselves? Guys, see, that is the key to creating massive success in this business, is to help a whole bunch of people do a little bit, to help a whole bunch of people go out there and hit that $500 to $1,000 a month. So I'm not going to go and read all this stuff. I just want to hit some bullet points. So basically, how do you get better at influencing others? Any things that you can do to help intensify other people's hunger or basically help them create a drive within themselves, and help them get in touch with what drives them, is something that would help inspire people. So what does that look like? One of the reasons why we go into on welcome calls is finding out what people's goals, their dreams, their desires, what they want, and more importantly, why they want it and how that feels when it happens. Guys, part of that is to help people get in touch with that, to help people to be able to visualize. And it's funny that the next thing, number 2, is exceptional and compelling vision. What is another attribute of a great leader is that they actually have a vision. So as a leader, what you want to do is not only have a vision for yourself and know what that looks like for you, but basically also be able to help other people to be able to recognize what that vision might be for them, and what help them to recognize that they can do far greater than what they believe that they could do prior to. So small visions have no power to inspire or move people. Instead of influencing others, you'll be fighting for their attention. If you want to unlock an extraordinary life, you must have big dreams. This is why great leaders always have a vision of larger than themselves. Trying to influence others to support self-serving goal is a mistake. Many leaders trying to influence others to support a self-serving goal is a big mistake that many leaders make. Remember that wielding influence is a very powerful and is only to be used to influence change for the greater good. What that means is that you can't influence people. Like, for instance, if I try to influence you guys, let me sit on the floor here. If I try to influence you guys to basically go out there and work harder because I can visualize this house on the water in this boat, like, guys, that does not inspire anyone. To talk about, hey, go out there and do this so I can hit a rank, so where I could be edified, so I can be, guys, that doesn't inspire people. What inspires people is for you to help them to dream bigger, for you to help them to recognize what's possible, for you to help them to visualize and dream and experience more, and all of that. Guys, that's building the dream that they can have a dream. Building the vision. So when we talk about a big vision, a big goal, a big dream as a team, as a company, as a community, guys, what happens if we create more thousandaires than any company in the history of direct sales? That house that you want, that car that you want, that vacation you want to go on, the schools you might want to send your kids to are all possible. But if you're doing it from a place of you talking about what your goals are, like, guys, I might share my dream and my vision, but only to help you all recognize that if you don't have a clear vision for yourself of what it looks like, what it feels like, what it like on a daily basis, and I've cut back, guys, I'm working on it. I know that I had a problem. It's a problem that I would go look at dirt 10 times a day. Like I'm literally like, my wife would be like, let me guess, you're looking at dirt, right? So now today I've only been out to look at the dirt once, because if I'm out there looking at dirt all day, every day, there's not any work getting done. Actually, I do work from out there. But my point is that you have to also put the work behind it. So like even tonight, I said I wasn't going to get on this call even talking about what it is that we do until I hit a certain amount of prospects that I personally reached out to today. So, even when I got home right from dinner, I sat there and then messaged a bunch more people and followed up with a bunch more people. So when I'm sharing what it is that, we do or talking about stuff, that I'm talking about stuff that I'm actually doing, not asking people to do something I'm not willing to do myself. Because it's kind of like that leader that, or like if you were on a battlefield and, the general goes, go get him, and doesn't go out there and make the charge with you. And if you read anything on George Washington and who he was as a leader and as a general, The guy was in the trenches. In fact, many of them didn't even know it was George Washington, because when they were digging ditches, he was right there with his team. He was right there with the other soldiers, doing everything that he would ask or expect them to do, and not asking people to do stuff that he wasn't willing to do. So with that, again, what inspires people is not for someone to manage them, but to show them how to go out there and do it. So, Sean and I were doing some different prospecting earlier and stuff like that. And he had a call come in, and basically, like, I did a call with him, and I actually did the talking for him. And we talked about, like, when we are doing, like, when you have a new person that you're getting started, and Sean is absolutely capable of doing, I was just showing him like a little bit different approach, right? And my point is that when you're getting a new person started, you need to do it for them. You need to do it with them until they can do it on their own. In other words, you don't just tell people, hey, go make a bunch of calls or go do this and go do that. You show them. Like, I know that, and I know we have a lot of great ladies. I'll just use Melissa Lucas as an example. And my understanding is, like, when she's getting a new person started, like, she helps them and actually helps word their post, like even the attraction post. So where people aren't just blurting out and saying a bunch of crazy stuff on Facebook. So she's leading them by showing them how to do it, not telling them, go make a post on Facebook, but actually walking them through how to do the attraction post. And I know that I didn't get to watch the whole thing on Coffee Chat this morning, but the recording is up from this. And I think I put Jerry's up the other day too, from Friday. I'm not sure if I did or didn't, but basically there's so much great content on how to that you'll get on the Coffee Chats, right? There's a lot of how to. That's why, like, these calls are more why to. In other words, more the thinking side. Because we could tell you all day long, and there's people that, like last week, I'm sitting here saying, say it like this. And then what happens, people are like, what's the script exactly? Well, I can go off the cuff with whoever I'm talking to. I'm going to say the same thing, but a little different depending on who I'm talking to. I'm paying attention to their verbiage. I'm paying attention to how they communicate. It was funny because earlier when I was talking, we talked to one person and I worded something one way. And then I talked to another person and the same thing that I said a little bit different based on when I asked the question prior, the way the other girl answered the question. So the thing is, guys, it's not about just having a straight script. So a lot of times people are so worried about exactly what to say. But guys, at the end of the day, the recorded content, Joanne, is at zoomreplay.com. That's www.zoomreplay.com. So point being is, there's a lot of how to. But if your mindset's not right, it doesn't matter what we tell you. We can tell you exactly how to say it. I know Jerry did a lot of great things. Just go look at these people's stories and watch what they're doing and go copy what they're doing, right? Just copy what they're doing. Like, in fact, I saw some of the stuff that Jerry did, and I'm like, I could do that one because some of the girl posts don't work for me, right? But the dude post, I could be taking the dude post. The dudes, they might say some stuff that might sound more like me, but some of the girl posts talking about their kids and all that, if I post that, it's weird, right? But copy things that align with who you are, because rule number one is be normal. Don't be a weirdo. So don't go be someone else. Be yourself. But find somebody to copy, but you want to copy the right cat that's going to be a copycat, but copy the right cat that's going to align with you to where you don't come across as a weirdo. So that was another rant. You're welcome. So try to influence others to support a self-serving goal is a mistake many leaders make. Remember that wielding, I already shared that. So to really stand out and influence others, your vision needs to capture and grab the hearts, minds, and energies of a significant number of people. It must be the vision of how life can be made better for a group of people. Guys, do y'all see what we're talking about when we're talking about the vision of creating thousandaires? Do you see how that's a bigger goal that's not all about you? It's about creating a bigger vision that is for the betterment of a group of people, and that a lot of people can get behind that. A lot of people can get their heart behind that. A lot of people can get their minds to buy into it because it's something they believe they might be able to do. It's only $1,000. I can do that. But you start talking about making, I had a friend of mine, he was like, we're going to create more millionaires and I'm sitting there going, you just knocked out most people because most people don't believe they're going to be a millionaire. Like everybody wants to, right? Like everybody wants to be a millionaire, but not everybody's willing to do what it's going to take to be a millionaire. And if you start talking about all the big stuff, they're not going to believe they can do it anyway. So you're basically pushing them out of the game before they actually even really get started. It's just like if I sat and told you I'm prospecting 30, 40 people a day. Well, guess what? That just knocks out tons of people that are in the business. Guys, if you're full-time, yeah, you can sit and message people and you could do all this other kind of stuff. And I believe that every single one of us, no matter whether we're part-time, spare time, or whatever, can get the time to prospect a few people a day. So I try not to, when I'm talking to the masses, I don't ever talk about more than 3 a day. Because in fact, if somebody would just do 1 a day where they're putting one person all the way through the process of sharing a story, sending them a website, following up and putting them on the phone with somebody else, I think that that's a good goal if you did that every single day. Because the reality is many people will start in this business and they won't even do one simple thing every single freaking day. But that's one thing that you can do. And I promise you, I don't care how busy you are, you can do it. If you set that goal, and guys, in fact, I recommend you set that goal of 1 to go through the process and have an accountability partner like your upline support. And then part of that goal is that you're going to put them on the phone with one person every day. And then do that. And then guess what? If you do 3, congrats to you. Awesome. But if you're sitting here talking about that and talking about 50 to 100 people a day you're reaching out to, hey, God bless you, the people that are doing that, that's awesome. But if you are talking that with the average person, you're going to disqualify them from believing that they have the time to do it. And people are always looking for a scapegoat of their own dreams. They're always looking for an excuse to give up on themselves. So as leaders, we want to make sure that we're not pouring gas on that fire. We want to pour gas on the fire of their dreams, not on the things of not pour gas on the fire of their excuses. So we want to pour gas on their dreams. And that's why we find out, hey, how do you want me to support you? How do you want me to, because then when they're saying, hey, when things get tough or when you're not living up to the commitments that you shared with me, how do you want me to support you? Like we talked about last week, Sean McLean might like you to, say, dude, I thought you said, where other people, hey, remember when you said that you wanted to be able to send your kid to private school? I mean, were you serious about that? Or were you kidding around? Well, no, I'm serious. Well, you made a commitment with me that you were going to put me on the phone with one person a day. And I haven't really heard from you in 3 days, 4 days. Like, I'm just trying to find out, apparently something might've happened or whatever. And guys, again, that's why it's important for people to plug in to the different things that we might have. If you can make Happy Coffee Chat, great. If you can't, that's okay. But if you can make it, why? Because you're going to hear different little nuggets from people that'll help inspire you to bring your life and your business to the next level. So let me get back into here because I'm going to try to hit these things real quick and try to do it in a quick amount of fashion. I keep going off on, told you I was just going to use his bullet points. So there must be something that makes people want to bring their resources to the table and contribute their energy to achieve that vision of whatever goal you're sharing, right? When you have a specific purpose that benefits those around you, others will be drawn to help you reach your goal, and they will in turn influence others to help as well. So it's funny that same person, if you inspire them that, hey, we're doing this for the greater good, like a Yellow, for instance, you get them to buy in the fact of how many people are going to be able to impact and help. Oh, they'll go out and get people left and right, and they'll be promoting and they will be prospecting left and right to get people to do something that's for the good. But if that same person, you start talking about them making money and them doing this and that, it could turn that same person off. And it's funny because yellows go, well, I didn't want to talk to them about that because they would think I'm just trying to make money off of them. It's like, it's what people feel. But if they feel like they're doing it to help other people, oh, they'll talk to everybody. So you have to know who you're talking to. So let's go to the next bullet point, which is passionate and effective. You want to become good leaders are passionate and effective communicators. This concept is perhaps the most important thing that Tony teaches. To influence others, you must know what already influences them. That's why you want to know red, blue, yellow, green. Find out what inspires them. Find out where they communicate from by paying attention to what they say and what drives them. In other words, listening. So with that, it says that that's how to influence people to make real change. They must understand who the audience is and how to reach that particular audience. Your passion brings the energy. Your effectiveness comes from knowing who your audience is and how to speak to them in a way that moves them. Everyone is moved in different ways, so getting this right is crucial. People who are trying to influence others make a blunder of communicating in a style that works for them unless they get lucky and are only talking to people that are in there, a group of people that think just like them. This type of communication will fail. Those who understand how to influence people know that getting to know them is better. Know them better is crucial step to communication, and that influencing them cannot be done without it. Passionate and effective communication is the only way you'll be able to bring energy to inspire people to do something beyond their norm, to do something extraordinary. So that was number 4. Number 5 is extraordinary leaders who influence change have figured out a strategy to get them from where they are to where they want to be, to make their vision real. If they aren't strategies by nature, they know how to recognize a strategy that's effective to utilize for their own agenda. So what are we talking about there? We're talking about why on a welcome call, we find out what the person's goals or dreams or desires are, what they want, why they want it. Because again, as an effective communicator, you have to have a strategy behind what it is that you want to do. Well, so then now we could talk about, hey, you said you wanted to be able to send your kid to private school. How much is that going to cost? Oh, it's going to cost this much. So now the strategy is we need to help this many people hit bronze. We need to help this many people. Why bronze? Because the bronze is going to make between $500 and $1,000. And now we're staying in alignment with who we are as a culture, as a community, to create more thousandaires than anybody else. So guys, if you can get people to buy in that their goals, their dreams, their desires are all dependent upon how many people can, I'm not reading from a book, Lou, I'm reading from Tony Robbins. It's some TonyRobbins.com. My wife sent it to me. I could put it in a thread or something like that, but I have no idea where in the world. She just sent it to me because she says, you need to read this. No, I'm joking. But she always does say, hey, go read this. This is great stuff. So guys, we're doing this stuff together where she's reading different things and she's like, hey, you know, we could benefit from both reading this together. So we'll work through these different things. I know that her and Kim, y'all were reading like Purpose-Driven Life together and stuff like that. So guys, it's really just about working on ourselves to become better communicators, to become more in alignment with our own purpose. So leaders who don't know how to influence others others are strategic in their communication style and messaging. They're strategic in how to get the job done and know how to work with a variety of people. They know they need a strategy for what they're doing and strategy for communicating. To influence others, they got to know how to give and when to demand and when to talk and when to deeply listen. As much as developing strategies, it's about creating an action plan. It's about understanding when the team needs to recharge. When you're creating strategies as a leader, never be afraid to reevaluate what you're doing. And what that means, reevaluate what you're doing. I remember when I was taught, you want to set up a plan, you want to act on the plan, So they said, plan, do, review. You want to plan it, you want to do it, you want to review it and see where you can work on yourself better. So last week we talked about 10,000 ways to invent the light bulb, right? Or 1,000 ways on how not to invent the light bulb. So there's one side of doing something until you know that it works. There's another side where you have to evaluate what you're doing. And if you realize it's not working, tweak it. You have to be flexible to where, you're not just going to say, I'm just going to do, like, guys, if a certain style of communication for you is not working, change the style, right? Like, figure out what's working for other people, do what they do, and you'll have what they have. All right. So, all righty, next, number 6, the ability to care, connect, and break patterns. Kind of like Lauren did, break my pattern. Good job, Lauren. So you have to also know, one of my mentors taught how to do a pattern interrupt. So like when you have someone that's just all into negative, or whatever, and they're talking about, and they're caught in their own story of garbage that's holding them back, as good leaders and communicators, we have to recognize in how to shift those patterns, how to do a pattern interrupt and basically interrupt the pattern. And in one of the ways, which is really simple, this isn't like some major whatever, but like, all right, I totally understand where you feel. Look, I can appreciate that, but let's focus in on the solution of what we can do. What are some things that we can do to offset what it is that they're going through? So you can basically have them start to focus on a solution versus on the garbage, right? So I don't have any time. Hey, I know that you don't have any time, but if you did have some time, what are some things that you could do in that little bit of time that you did have to effectively go out there and grow your business? And if you've done calls with me, you will know that I will always do hey, I know that you don't, but if you did, people will say, well, hey, what kind of money do you want to make? I have no idea how much money. Hey, I know you don't know how much money you want to make, but if you did have a money goal, what would that money goal be? Well, I don't know what I want. Hey, I know that you don't know what you want, but if you did know what you want, what would that be? And the reason why that is because many times people don't give themselves permission to dream. They don't give themselves permission. So it's crazy how it works. And look, sometimes I might have to, I keep spitting on my screen and stuff. I'm like, sometimes you might have to ask it a couple times, but I've never had someone that asks. If I ask it twice, 3 times is probably the most I ever have. Hey, look, I know that you don't have a goal, but if you did have a goal, what would it be? Well, I'm not really sure. I know you're not sure, but if you did have a goal, what would that goal be? And then they'll go, well, if I did have a goal, and they'll come up with a number. They'll start dreaming. I want to live in what kind of house? Well, I'm not really sure. Brick house. What style house? Well, I'm not really sure. I know you're not sure, but if you were sure, when you did know what it looked like, what did it look like? And then they start to dream, because guys, if you can't see it, you can't be it. If you can't see it, you can't basically attract it into your life. You have to be able to see that, and you have to, as a leader, to help people to connect with what it is that they want. So help them to recognize that pattern. The skill is vital, because as a leader, you're going to come up against someone or some group that's going to try to stop your progress. You also have to learn how to influence people who have limiting beliefs that are holding themselves back from making the necessary changes. That's what I was just talking about right there, on helping them break through the limiting beliefs. So number 7, unreasonable expectations and standards. To influence others to change the world, you must set a standard of unreasonable expectations. Guys, remember last week when we were talking about the goals, and sometimes the goals, have to really like for instance, the goal of me saying I wanted to get a boat when my mortgage is behind and my air conditioner's broken in the house. And like, how are you going to buy $100,000 boat? Guys, that was an unrealistic expectation that I created for myself, that I just kept saying that this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And what happens, the unreasonable becomes reasonable. to where you start to believe it. And it's funny because I remember when I started to tell people that that was what was going to happen. That was going to happen. And I remember when I started, and I'm saying this because you know how they say that person lies so much, they believe their own lies. Anybody you know like that, right? They lie like a dog, right? They lie, and they believe the crap that they say. Well, guys, the beautiful part about that is that you can do that for good things too. You can lie to yourself about what's possible. And guys, what is possible is not based on what you've experienced, but it's on what's possible. And anything is possible. Anything is possible. The light bulb wasn't possible. Electricity wasn't possible. You know, flying in the air wasn't possible, but now we do it without even thinking about it, don't we? The thing is that someone thought that up and people told them they were crazy. And the thing is that you have to think up the dreams in your mind. And it doesn't matter if people say that you're crazy. You say it over and over and over. And it's funny because Sean and Kim were with me when we went to go pick up the boat. After it was like impossible. And then it came and it was really like, this is really freaking happening, right? And what happens is you start to tell that lie so much of I'm going to be this, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am that. And what happens, your crazy butt starts to believe it. And then what happens is when you start to believe it, you start to act like it. And when you start to act like it, you start to attract it. And guys, that's what it really boils down to. It boils down to you setting some unrealistic expectations based on your past that you can buy into. And guys, as you can start to tap into those things yourself, you can help inspire other people that it's possible for them, that they can do it as well. But you can't do that if you don't believe yourself. How are you going to basically, sell someone on a belief that you don't have? You have to believe it. What do you believe is possible in your business right now? That's a question. It's a question you need to ask yourself. And then change whatever it is if you don't like the answer. Because anything is possible. I could say some scriptures that go along with that. But the bottom line is there's a bunch. Over and over and over, the book speaks about it. Life and death are the words of your lips. But we'll speak lack and limitation into our lives. How about speaking the good stuff? All right. Off on the tangent. Off the tangent. All right. So I've read one little sentence and it just turned into that. Wow. So here we go. The only way a revolutionary happens is when you won't settle and when you know how to influence others not to settle as well. We all get what we tolerate. As leaders, we must create a culture that when people live bigger lives with higher expectations of what they can do and how they are treated, we must give them the tools to unlock an extraordinary life. See, it's funny, I didn't even read that part yet, but I just talked about all that. That's what's called being in flow, being in spirit, where it just comes and it flows from the heart and not necessarily, see, I read that after, not before. That's just the point. So the biggest difference between a manager and a leader who knows how to influence others is that the manager gets people to do things by supervising them. A leader, on the other hand, inspires people to a new standard, even when that leader isn't there. People still live by these new rules because it's become their standard. What is your standard? What have you set as an expectation for you and your business and your team and what's possible? And then basically higher standards as well, innovation and lasting change happens. All right, number 8, I only have 2 more. We're going to end this bad boy. Is that 2 or is that 3? 8, 9, 10. That's 3. See that? I get 1, 2, 3. All right. So here we go. You have to have courage and faith to act. See, having courage means that it means that you're afraid of a task and you do it anyway. Having courage, and this is me now. Let me just read this because I was about to go off on a tangent again. Holy smoly. So basically, it means that you are afraid of something, you do it anyway. And having faith means that you're able to work towards challenging the goal because you believe it. It serves a greater good. Leaders have the ability to tap into both. They also know how to influence people to embrace the same courage and faith. It's not that leaders don't experience fear, they just know how to dance with it instead of letting it ruin their lives. If you've been getting on these calls for any length of time, you'll hear me talk about creating a game with it and just creating a game in your mind so where you can help deal with the fear to basically move forward to where it's a game, to where there's no emotional attachment to when someone says no or when someone says different things. All right, I'm going to hurry up so I don't take too much time here. Think about the difference between fear and faith. They both are made up of ideas. Think about that for a second. Fear and faith both are made up of ideas. And both of them are a feeling, right? So they're both made up of ideas. Fear is just undirected imagination, while faith is imagination directed consciously. Oh, that's some good stuff right there. If you're taking notes, that's a good one right there. So basically, fear is basically like, let's go back. Fear is just undirected imagination, while faith is imagination directed. That is good stuff right there. I had to read that again. Extraordinary leaders understand this concept and know how to use it when influencing others. They have the courage to act and take risk along with the faith that somehow, even when something seems challenging, they have the courage to get back up after they failed. This inspires others to dance with their own fear and creates a domino effect and sparks lasting change. See, it's funny, we used to do, years ago, we would literally we'd have what we called phone team. And we'd get a group of people together at the house and we'd all make calls. And I know that Sean and them, and I know that different people in the team, they call it different things where they'll do dials or they'll do messaging people. They'll call it Empower Hour or something 30 and what is it? The blitzes and power 30s and all kinds of good stuff. All right, number 9, with 2 more, we're almost done. Another attribute of a leader is they're insanely persistent yet flexible in their approach. You heard me kind of talk about the flexibility earlier. All great leaders continue to learn with every interaction and every experience. They never turn off the capacity for adapting to new environments or developing new skills. There's something inside of them that hungers to know all they can to be able to master something that's related to their vision. It's an incredible level of persistence they can use to turn setbacks into success and highly effective at influencing others. Well, guys, there are example after example after example about how different people that were considered leaders were not open to change. Let's just use Blockbuster as an example. Blockbuster was one of the huge successes, back whatever year it was. They were huge, and some of y'all are young, don't even know what a Blockbuster is. But the bottom line is Blockbuster, there's a thing that used to be called a VCR. And people literally used to go to a Blockbuster and rent VCR tapes, which for those of you that don't know what tapes are, it's not the kind like duct tape and stuff like that. We used to have these players that you put these things in and they play stuff on the TV. And that was called a VCR, right? Well, Blockbuster was not open or willing to adapt and change, and they are now gone. The thing is that as things change, guys, we have been in an information age, and a lot of people have been able to build on Facebook, and they've been able to build on YouTube, and they've been able to build on Instagram. They've been able to build on different platforms. There's a lot of people that are still having success belly to belly. I know Shane McCardle is a belly to belly person. He's someone that loves to meet people. He loves to freaking go and sit down with them. Couldn't tell you how many times I've done calls with him where he's sitting down with the person at a coffee shop or wherever doing that. That's what he likes to do. Awesome. And there's a whole bunch of ways to build your business. So the thing is that if you as a leader are not willing to adapt and change or shift or basically do anything different, then as Facebook quits showing your messages, and you're not willing to go do stories, then, well, you're you're not going to adapt. You have to adapt to the times. Guys, Facebook 10 years ago was totally different than what it is today. We used to be able to do a thing on Facebook and you would get thousands and thousands of people liking it, watching it and all that. The algorithms change and you have to be up and changing with the algorithms. You have to be adaptable and be willing to change. Let me go off because we have 5 minutes to close this bad boy out and I have one more left. Persistence doesn't mean being immovable. Leaders are flexible so they can make change. When something isn't working, failure won't seem to stop them. They've failed before and always learn from it. Think of it this way. If you persist for the outcome, but you flex your approach toward that goal. In other words, guys, that doesn't mean change the 4 steps. The 4 steps work. It might just be you have to change your approach on one of the 4 steps. Does that make sense? The 4 steps are the 4 steps. You have to share your story. You have to be a product of the product. That's always going to be the same. But again, Shane might go out there and talk to somebody at a grocery store or wherever he meets them, and then other people are going to do it through Facebook. Other people are going to do it through this, through that, whatever, a whole bunch of things. One mistake those who want to learn how to influence others make is while they're mastered persistence, they've also become rigid. They doggedly pursue the same activities or goals they've had from the beginning, even when they're not working. Remember, persistence can work against you unless you pair it with flexibility. And here's number 10, and we'll close this bad boy out. You have to be authentic and congruent. I was talking a little bit about this earlier. A true leader leads by example. When attempting to influence others, they always walk their talk. They never ask others to do what they're not willing to do themselves or they've already done themselves. They lead from their core values and know that influence of others is meaningless unless it comes from a place of authenticity. You must have authenticity to create credibility, and you must stay congruent with your words and actions. Without credibility, no one can lead, no one can be successful. When figuring out how to influence others, all great leaders and those who have mastered how to influence people have stories of possibility instead of impossibility. That's like why I tell the story about the boat. It's having a story of a possibility when it was an impossibility in my mind at first, right? The story of not being able to achieve something, they're not influencing others. They're not leaders. They've always given up. You have to be willing to go out there another. So learning how to influence people is not just for leaders of Fortune 500 companies or large political movements. You can influence others for the greater good, everyday interactions, even if you're not in a leadership role. So for those of you that are like, well, I'm not in a leadership role. Well, not yet. But if you have kids, you should be. You should be. I don't care who you are, but if you have kids, you should be a leader and learn how to influence them in a positive way. So when you make logical appeals, you are influencing others with the head. This taps into the rational part of the brain. You can influence them by appealing to the organizational beliefs, the benefits of your proposition, or by presenting facts from a recognized authority. Influence with the heart. These type of appeals connect with the person's emotions. They can promote good feelings and trigger empathy for those who are suffering. Emotional appeals hinge on values of those you are trying to influence, as well as those with a sense of belonging. Influencing with the heart is often effective when fundraising, recruiting, and things in a nonprofit. Let me see. All right, this is the last paragraph. Influence with the hands. Influences with the hands involves cooperative appeals centered on collaboration and teamwork. Guys, this is totally us as you know, as a team, as a company, as a community. You're reaching out to others, seeking their input, and encouraging everyone within a particular group to work together, collaborating to achieve a goal that benefits a greater good is a powerful influencer, especially when you're working towards making massive, lasting change like we are in the Happy Co. How do you know which type will appeal to those when influencing others? It's based on situation. Remember, I was talking about that. One person say one thing, another person say another, then know which way to shift. Your audience and how strong you are in each area before you talk to the person or people you hope to influence. Determine that you know what you know about them. The tactics will work most effectively. In some cases, combining 2 or more of these appeals is appropriate. Influencing others is about working effectively with people who you have no authority over. When it comes from a place of empathy, compassion, and a desire to elevate everyone to a higher level, influence helps make the world a better place. Leaders change the state of others and the world around them by telling an effective story. Guys, that's what we are. We are storytellers. We tell our story to help influence and help motivate other people to shift in a different direction. By telling an effective story, they say what they mean, care about those they are influencing, and know that they tailor their approach to the individuals or specific group. They inspire others with their vision by putting their plans to action. So guys, that is the Tony Robbins talk of tonight. So I read that stuff earlier and I was like, I think this would be a great topic to basically share off of. I apologize for reading the stuff because I believe that, coming from a place of authenticity, not just reading something, but if you notice, I definitely went off on some tangents that were not right off the page. And I'm sharing this, guys, because what we're doing is an amazing thing. And we have the ability to really impact a lot of people in our lives, but it starts with the belief of ourselves. It starts with us believing in ourselves, us believing that we can make a difference in others and help them to go out there and create massive value in their lives. So with that being said, guys, I hope you got value tonight. Appreciate you all, love you all, and we will see you all next week. Again, remember, there is a happy coffee chat. If you don't have one, you're already jumping on board. It's at elevatetohappy.com. It's on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that is at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. And all of these calls, for the most part, are recorded and posted at zoomreplay.com. That's zoomreplay.com. Talk to you guys later. Hope you got value. Love you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Chris. Always great.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
you.